All these football hits are tough, but as we progress through this video, they get scarier and scarier. And we're starting in Candlestick Park, San Francisco. It was only the preseason. No playoff implications, no big headlines, just game reps and fresh tape for the coaches. Guess somebody forgot to tell Patrick Willis that, because the Jets dial up a reverse. Brad Smith takes the field and starts sweeping toward the right side. Before he can even turn upfield, Patrick Willis reads the play and absolutely bulldozes him. Smith's legs buckle on impact and he folds backwards. It's the kind of hit that gives you shivers just watching it on screen. Never mind hearing it in the stadium.
That was Patrick Willis who hit him high.
Preseason or not, this was a statement. Patrick Willis didn't know how to play at half speed, and this was the NFL, not a dress rehearsal. Some hits in football come from rage, some from instinct, and some from a really bad idea. Enter Chad Ochocinco. It's the middle of the season. Ravens versus Bengals. Late in the fourth quarter, Baltimore's defense is dialed in, and Ray Lewis is, as always, the eye of the storm. But while the play is unfolding downfield, Ochocinco spots Lewis lined up near the edge and decides he's going to deliver him a little taste of his own medicine.
I thought I was gonna win because he didn't see me coming.
But I knew you were.
I tried to hit Ray when he wasn't looking.
A blindside block on Ray Lewis. Some might call it a bold strategy, others a death wish. Lewis completely absorbs the hit, and it's Ochocinco who ends up on the deck.
You know that was me?
I didn't even.
I was trying to knock your head off.
Listen what's funny. Listen what's real funny. I didn't feel you.
But neither player was laughing after this next hit, though. Because we go the rivalry week in the AFC North, Browns versus Steelers. But for James Harrison, every week is war. See, in the second quarter, Browns quarterback Colt McCoy drops back and fires a pass over the middle to Mohamed Massaquoi. Massaquoi barely secures the ball before he's met by Harrison, full speed, helmet first.
Massaquoi was drilled. Oh my goodness.
The sound alone turns heads. That was the smack of the crown of Harrison's helmet smashing straight into Massaquoi's face mask, and it just got worse and worse on the replay. And Massaquoi needed serious time to get back on his feet before being helped off the field for a concussion check. As for Harrison, the league responded by handing him a $75,000 fine. And it became one of the most controversial hits of the year. But Cam Chancellor delivered one of the most iconic hits of the year, because it was on an NFL 6-year veteran. See, the San Francisco 49ers were hosting the Seattle Seahawks in a heated NFC West rivalry. Playoff stakes were high, bad blood everywhere. And in the middle of it all, the Legion of Boom. Sherman, Thomas, and Cam Chancellor. Early in the first half, 49ers tight end Vernon Davis ran a crossing route into enemy airspace. Kaepernick dropped back, locked eyes on Davis, and let it fly. But before his feet even touched the ground, Cam Chancellor is already there.
What a shot! Flag is thrown. In fact, 3 of them.
Just shoulder first, full speed impact. So even though it was a perfectly legal hit, my God, it looked brutal. The force of the hit sent Davis out of play, and you could see him feeling the effects of it, because he's in a complete daze. But honestly, he's lucky all he got was a bad headache, because some of these hard-hitting tackles are no joke. And in one game, Sean Taylor delivered a tackle like no other. But the craziest part, it wasn't even a serious game. This was the Pro Bowl. Supposed to be fun, relaxed. Nobody wants to get hurt because this game doesn't even count. But try telling Sean Taylor that. Washington's 23-year-old safety had just wrapped up a breakout season, known for his ball hawking, his speed, and most of all, his fearlessness. The NFC lines up the punt. The AFC's punter, Brian Moorman of the Buffalo Bills, calls a fake and rolls out to the sideline. Then, Sean Taylor appears.
And he's going to come up short. Oh!
Taylor lowers his shoulder and demolishes Moorman. Clean, but absolutely savage. Moorman flies backward, flips on his back, and takes a few seconds. Nobody could believe what they had just witnessed. But eventually, Moorman gets up, goes over to congratulate him, because it wasn't dirty. It was just Sean Taylor being Sean Taylor. Certified madman. But what happened in Texas Stadium 2004 wasn't just brutal, it changed the rule book. It's a fierce NFC East showdown between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Late in the game, the Eagles are coasting towards the playoffs. But then, one tackle changes everything. Dallas safety Roy Williams locks onto Terrell Owens after a short catch. He doesn't wrap up, he doesn't aim low. Instead, he grabs Owen from behind the back of the shoulder pads and yanks him straight down. Horse collar, fractured fibula, sprained ankle, out indefinitely. And this wasn't just some random accident. Roy Williams had a reputation for these. In fact, this was one of the multiple horse collar tackles he delivered that season. A few months later, the NFL banned it entirely, and they literally named the rule after him. But although hardcore tackles are just part of the game, sometimes they get a little too hardcore. It was January 2007, the Saints' first home playoff game in 6 years. New Orleans was still rebuilding from Hurricane Katrina. Tonight, however, the violence that was to come was man-made. The Saints were flying high. Drew Brees was in command. The dome was vibrating with noise. Midway through the first quarter, Brees drops back. Bush swings out left, wide open. Brees flips it to him. That's when Sheldon Brown enters the picture. Bush turns his head and never sees it coming. It's like the worst case of getting winded possible. Brown tries to get up, but nobody can eat a hit like that and not need a minute to recover. But seeing him get up and fall down again, it's just hard to watch. And here's the thing. Studies on NFL collisions have found that big hits can generate forces similar to a 30 to 35 mile per hour car crash. So that's exactly what Sheldon Brown was feeling as he crawled in pure agony. It wasn't just a tackle. It was a message from the away side. And what if Sheldon Brown didn't get back up? 3 years later, that fear became a reality at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philly. It's October 2010. The Eagles are up against the Falcons in a battle of the NFC juggernauts. Deshaun Jackson was on fire. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter with a 31-yard jet sweep. Untouchable. The Falcons just can't contain him. But then, Kevin Cobb drops back. Jackson's on a crossing route. He catches it clean, but the moment he turns his head,
Six. Cobb in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit. And there is a penalty marker.
Well, that's a defenseless player.
one of the worst head clashes the NFL has ever seen. Dante Robinson had gone in helmet first, and the result was brutal. Medical staff immediately rushed onto the field, and teammates looked shocked. Both players were out cold, but Jackson had got the worst of it. In the replay, you could see his arms go limp before he even hits the ground. Then the commentators started asking the real questions.
But we've got to find a way in this game to help eliminate that play right there, and I don't know how you do it. They've done it through rule. We've got to talk to the players about the importance and the respect between each other.
How do we ensure this kind of thing doesn't happen again? When Jackson is finally helped to his feet, the stadium erupts on applause. But all this was just a reminder of how dangerous this game was. Without some sort of rules in place to punish players who deliberately endanger others, the NFL responded decisively by fining Robinson $50,000. And Deshaun Jackson, he was left with a concussion and memory loss that kept them out for weeks. This was the moment that pushed the NFL to start cracking down harder on defenseless receiver protections. But this is what it looks like when the players don't care about the NFL cracking down. Because Vontaze Burfict never listened to the NFL. But it was during the Steelers versus Bengals wildcard round, Burfict showed the world what he was truly capable of. Because this game didn't just have playoff tension. It was a heated and toxic rivalry that had hatred boiling over as late hits, cheap shots, and whistles barely stopping fights. And with just 22 seconds left on the clock, it hit its peak. The Steelers, down by 1, were desperately trying to get into field goal range. So Roethlisberger, injured earlier, comes back in barely able to throw. So he floats a pass across the middle. Antonio Brown jumps to catch it, and Vontaze Burfict came flying in. Helmet first, full speed, no attempt to wrap. This wasn't bad timing. This was targeted. The concussion knocked Brown out cold and out of the playoffs. Even though Burfict tried to act like he did nothing wrong, the league handed him a 3-game suspension and a heavy fine. Brown came back the next season, but something was off. He started having public crash outs and breakdowns, leading everyone to wonder if he had developed CTE, something which he repeatedly denied and got angry about in interviews.
I just said you're a 7-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, but that don't matter, sir. That's just the stats you read on Google.
Well, you just said yourself you're the best receiver that Brady called you. You're going back to football.
Yeah, because you just went back to a moment in my football career that you said I got a hit.
No, I
brought up CTE. So your point was I got hit in the point and maybe I got it.
Well, because
it's players that's died that got it, and you taking me to the point to actually do I got an issue that kill people when the league kill people?
Because
you see?
when you pull up the stats on
So what you saying? Every football player is signing up to get CTE, right? And if they don't perform, don't want to play, or they don't act like you think they should act, you gonna go back to a moment when they got hit to say you got CTE because you're crazy.
But whether or not that hit rewired his brain is up for debate. But what isn't is the fact that hits like this can change careers or people forever. Just like seeing something like this can rock you to your core. Because when the Buffalo Bills were up against the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023, what should have been a playoff-snapping AFC showdown turned into one of the most horrifying moments in NFL history. It was the first quarter. The Bengals were driving. Joe Burrow hit T. Higgins on the short slant across the middle. tackle. T. Higgins lowers his shoulder as he meets the defender. Number 3 for the Buffalo, Damar Hamlin wraps him up and brings him down. It looks like a regular tackle, nothing too hard, but when Hamlin stands up, this happens.
Not what any of us want to see, and everybody's around him, and let's hope that he's going to be okay.
Dude just collapses out of nowhere. Immediate concern ripples through the stadium. Because when players fall like that, something is seriously wrong. Hamlin had just suffered a cardiac arrest, and doctors were racing against the clock to save him. See, in a stroke of freakishly bad luck, the hit to his chest came in exactly the wrong moment in his heartbeat. That split-second impact triggered a rare condition called commotio cordis, where a blow to the chest causes the heart to stop. It's extremely uncommon and usually fatal. And now, it was happening live in front of 60,000 people and millions watching it on TV. There were teammates in tears. Nobody knew how to react. Everyone was just waiting for a miracle. And here's the thing. Damar Hamlin was clinically dead for 10 whole minutes. But somehow he was revived and taken to the hospital. The game was suspended. The first time in 90 years an NFL game was called off due to a player's life hanging in the balance. Some things are just bigger than football. But 6 years previous to this, another player was a victim to a freak accident on the field. His name, Ryan Shazier. See, one of the scariest things about contact sports is that career enders can come from anywhere at any moment. Even with all the protective gear, a full medical team eyeing your every move, and the best field conditions money can buy, there's no guarantee that these players will be 100% protected when that ref whistle blows to start a match. Fast forward a year from the Antonio Brown concussion, and we're back in the same stadium on December 4th, 2017. Steelers versus Bengals again. The rivalry hasn't cooled. If anything, it's gotten uglier. But what was about to happen wasn't about hatred. It was about horror. Cincinnati lines up on 2nd and short. Andy Dalton drops back, surveys the field, and fires to Josh Malone on the inside route. Ryan Shazier reads it perfectly, but after diving in and knocking Malone over, he lands awkwardly on the ground, and something is seriously wrong. He's clutching his back and signaling for help. Nobody knows what's going on, but doctors rush onto the field to tend to him. And after being unable to get up, he was wheeled off the field on a stretcher. Ryan Shazier had suffered a spinal contusion, because instead of hitting Malone's pads, the crown of his helmet missed every pad by inches and slammed into Malone's hip. And even though his spine didn't snap, hitting straight bone made his body shut down, like flipping off a switch. And thus, his NFL career was switched off with it. Even though he managed to walk again, nothing about his life was the same.
And then once I got injured, my life completely changed because, you know, as any athlete, you think, oh man, I can bounce back from this. I can overcome this. And I feel like I did bounce back in the way of being a human. But as a football player, I didn't bounce back the way I wanted. And my life completely changed because I was expecting one thing. I kind of already knew what the plan was going to be. I kind of already seen the vision.
Yeah.
And, you know, they changed the act on me. You know, it was in the middle of the show. It was like, hey, chapter 2.
Although Ryan Shazier survived Chapter 2, his football story was over. A brutal reminder that in the NFL, it only takes an inch of bad luck to end everything. Later that same game, tensions boiled over. Antonio Brown was still recovering from last year's brutal knockout. Ryan Shazier had just been carted off the field with his career in jeopardy. And now, it was Juju Smith-Schuster's turn to send a message. On a routine play, Vontaze Burfict, the same man who nearly ended Brown's career, went to make a tackle. But Juju came flying in for the blind side and absolutely drilled him, shoulder to jaw, and Burfict dropped like a pound of bricks. Then came the moment that defined it. Juju standing over him, staring him down. Juju was flagged and criticized for targeting and taunting, but for many fans watching, the live-action karma served the Burfict was pure satisfaction. Juju had hunted him down and in one brutal move, got vengeance for his teammate. But sometimes, the craziest hits don't come from an opponent. They come from your own teammate. And for that, we gotta take it back to November 29th, 1992. The date to one of the scariest collisions in NFL history. It was week 13 of the 1992 season. The New York Jets were hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, and defensive end Dennis Byrd had just beaten his blocker clean off the snap. Quarterback Dave Craig was in his sights. Byrd lowered his head and charged, but in a split second, it all went wrong. Craig stepped up, and right in that space, trying to finish the play, came Bird's teammate. Byrd had no time to react. He collided head first, not with the QB, but with Mesro's chest. And just like that, he shattered his C5 vertebrae, a catastrophic spinal injury that paralyzed him from the neck down. At just 26 years old, his career was over. Doctors told him that never walking again was a very real possibility. Dennis Byrd fought back. After months of intense rehabilitation, he did walk again, astonishing the medical world and inspiring millions. On one side of the coin, Byrd was an inspiration and an example of human resilience. On the other, he was a haunting example of bad luck, bad timing, and tragedy. But if that wasn't the scariest hit in football history, what is? September 9th, 2007, Ralph Wilson Stadium, Week 1 season opener. Sunny skies, roaring crowd, and nothing but optimism in the air. The Buffalo Bills are kicking off to the Denver Broncos. Tight end Kevin Everett charges down the field on special teams. He spots the return man and lunges in, head down, all force. It looks like every other kickoff collision until he doesn't get up. Everett lies motionless on the turf. At first, it's confusion, then panic. Within moments, the seriousness of it becomes clear. Kevin Everett is paralyzed. Medically speaking, there was a cervical spine dislocation at C3-C4 with spinal cord compression. Non-medically speaking, possibly the scariest injury to come out of almost nothing. He couldn't move, couldn't feel anything below his neck, and without quick action, he was going to die. In what was an experimental form of treatment, the Bills medical team injected Everett with cold saline solution in a gamble to save him. And it worked. Everett survived, even regained the ability to walk with assistance months later. But his NFL career was over on his first game of the season, on a play no one even remembered until it went horribly wrong.